So I'll start it, and then I would love it since we're here and like Laura, you just about launched us off. So I feel like I already know you both,
I
but
launch a lot of people off, so that's not
this is the kind of day we're going to have today. I am Sarah Williams, and I am a collaborative consultant at the Jackson Collaborative Network. And I'll get into slides in a minute, but I enjoy chatting and learning who people are. So yes, if you would introduce yourself and your agency, if that's applicable, that would be great.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm Laura Bigcraft. I'm a services director at Disability Connections.
Tashna Thomas, Director of Community Engagement at Henry Ford Allegiance Health.
Thanks for being here. And I see Dina's connecting. I'm not sure if she has audio or not, but hi, Dina. Thanks for being here. We'll just assume she responded. But, so yeah, this is, and I'll share screens. I'll just like, and you all have been to affinity groups, so you know they have like a little bit of a different feel too, but have you guys been like meeting in person? Or I'm kind of not allowed to. I mean, from a Henry Ford Health System, we can't hold meetings, right? So like, Laura, have you been like meeting with people? And
no, we're not. We're still actually closed to the public. We have our loan closet is open, but we're doing curbside service. So people call and let us know what they need and we take it out to them.
Sure.
We're not having anybody in the building. We have so many staff and consumers that have underlying conditions, just don't feel comfortable yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard and messy, and especially for people who are doing direct service work. Like I can't help but like the people person in me immediately goes to like the relationships that, you know, your clients or whatever.
It's hard. It's hard because we have clients that don't, you know, are not technically able to use internet or don't have internet or don't want to use internet. They want that physical connection. So it's been a task.
Because that's like, and I've said it to everyone everywhere, but like both technology and Zoom, right, are like a blessing and a curse. Like, yay, I'm glad we can gather today, but also I was just meeting with someone yesterday and I was like, gosh, it's nice to like sit next to a person and like, you know, and also the anxiety of like, hope we don't get each other sick. Like you're like, we're vaxxed and boosted and doing our best, right? But also like, it's such a messy time. Hi, Nancy. Good to see your face. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nancy Peters-Lewis. I'm with the College and Career Access Center. Hi, Tashna.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Laura, good. I don't think I've met you, Laura.
I don't think so either.
Who are you with?
Disability Connections.
Okay. Where's your office located?
On Linden Avenue. So right behind the McDonald's on Prospect is what we use for our marker.
Okay. That's
a good marker.
Yeah, I grew up right there on the corner of 4th and Crescent. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's 4th. So that was my little spot. So yeah, I know that. I used to go down and buy my fillet of fish and go to Magic Market and get my little fun dip.
Oh, fun dip. That's a good reference.
Fun dip. When we started making it homemade and selling it in bags.
What?
Put a little rubber band around it. Yeah.
You made homemade fun dip? That's very crafty.
Cup of sugar. Kool-Aid.
Sugar dipped in sugar, essentially, is what you're doing.
Yeah, you didn't have the stick. You used your fingers. So. Anyway, okay, nice to meet you. So Disability Connections. I know I've heard of you guys. So what do you guys, can I ask what you do? Is that a bad spot?
Yeah, so
hey Zoe.
So we're a center for independent living. There's 15 centers all over Michigan. We assist people with disabilities to remain as independent as possible.
Okay. And that includes physical and mental health?
Yep.
Okay.
Anything they throw at us, we'll take it.
Wow.
It's been great to have Laura in some of our conversations, because we find like, I feel like you connected maybe with Angela, was it maybe at Michigan Work? There were like just a lot of like connections, obviously the whole point of these too, right? But like, are you working with this person? And I always love your perspective, especially around like this group, the navigating systems piece.
Laura, do you know what the College and Career Access Center does? Have you heard of us at all?
Are you in the crossing?
Yep.
I've seen your office there, but I don't really know what you do.
Okay, so I'm going to give you our quick elevator speech. So we have our center that's located here in the Jackson Crossing Mall. We're open Monday through Saturday, free to the public, and we basically support students and adults in starting their futures. So what that looks like, it can be post-secondary education, skilled trades, 2 to 4 year, going in the military, going straight to work for a stackable credential. And so we support students by providing consultations in those areas. And then we also have a team of advisors that work out in the 13 districts directly with seniors on their post-secondary plans. So the advisors are housed in the school districts. And then there's some other initiatives that we have at the younger grades, program called in the 8th grade, all the 8th grades, called Skilled Kids College and Pathways to Professional Skilled Trades. And that is a curriculum that is given in the schools, and then they go on a trip to a manufacturing visit and a college visit at the end. And at the junior level in all the districts, we have a program called Juniors of the Local Circuit that sends every single junior to the 3 local colleges, Baker, JC, and Spring Arbor. So that's us in kind of a quick speech, but I'm interested in terms of disability connections. I know that obviously we refer folks over to Michigan Rehabilitation Services a lot that might be in a position where they couldn't do something necessarily traditional that we would support with. So
Yeah, we work closely with MRS. We have a similar, it's called, we call it PREETS, pre-education training something. I love acronyms.
Right.
So we go into the classrooms and do some education for kids with disabilities that are in that transition period. So before they're out of school, it gets them ready for what they need to know in order to go either to move on to college or go into the workforce.
Very cool.
Yep. And then we have Employment Navigator also that does the same thing with people who are out of school. Helps
Okay.
them to kind of figure out what the boundaries are that they're having to work.
And if I'm asking too many questions here, Zoe and Teshna, just tell me to be quiet. But I'm with the Disability Connections. Do you take anyone that walks through your door? Do you have to be a Medicaid recipient, or
No.
what are the eligibility requirements to get help?
So for the people that come in through MRS, obviously they have to be a referral through MRS for the PREETS and for the Employment Navigator. But I have an independent living specialist that, as long as someone has a disability, he can help them through whatever barriers they're having, whether they're employment or living on their own or transportation issues. Somebody wants to learn how to ride the bus or learn how to pay their bills, or they deal with all those little issues. And if it's not something that he can address specifically, then he finds resources for them.
Okay, very cool.
Laura, do you do also like when you're talking about helping young people navigate or like prior to graduation or whatever, do you also help adults understand like working? Not that we have to focus on teachers, but if I'm thinking about schools, right? Like there's such a community piece too, where I don't even know that answer. Like, what role you play in that?
So you're talking about people that are in school or people that are out of school?
Either or, like an education piece too. And I'm not sure if that's even in your scope too, right? Of like trying to help, because there's an onus on some people to like do your research, understand things, and also like I'm not sure, do you have like an education piece around like empathy or inclusive language or like any of that?
So we used to have some things like that. Since COVID has been going on, we've kind of put a nix on that because we can't go into the schools, and it's very difficult to get the schools to engage in those kind of things virtually. But it was actually, it's funny that you say that, because when pre-COVID, not too long before pre-COVID, we were doing a lot of changing the way we do things. And one of them was more outreach and providing that kind of thing, telling people that, especially focused around disability. And we're even expanding that to inclusiveness for everyone, because we feel like that if people with disabilities are included, then everyone is included. We want it to be, we want our community to be diverse and everybody welcome. So we've kind of expanded our view, I guess, there, especially with our new directors, very focused on diversity. we've changed we have a yearly program that we do, used to be Disability Awareness Dinner. We've changed it to the inclusion event and we want it to be a free event where everybody can come and talk about, what do we need to be a more inclusive neighborhood. So we don't have anything specific in the schools right now, but it is something that we would like to make happen. I think that my philosophy anyway is that the younger you teach someone about how things should be done, the more open they are to those things.
I love that. And I think we've talked in multiple affinity group settings too. And I think, Laura, probably the last time probably every time you're in one of our groups, we end up talking about like the intersection, right, of like disability justice and racial justice. And I will say, like,
the same path.
It is. Well, and there's so many things, and like you can't really address one without, well, maybe shouldn't address one without the other, right? And we've talked about I mean, also personally, like in the past couple of years, my like personal journey of like addressing disability, like injustice and racial injustice, and like my eyes have been quite opened, and language, and like you said, it is not that I'm doing it right, but if you're doing it right, you should be addressing both, right? Like,
Yes.
so anyway, I feel like that's what a great thing to talk about and to address. And I just didn't even know too, like when it comes to like, if someone was to say like, hey, do you know if Disability Connect, has these services, it's helpful for me to know like, oh yes, they did, or, to be able to connect them to you.
Yeah, and we are, the one thing I love about this organization is we are very open to doing whatever we need to do to make it work. So if we can get into the schools and do some teaching there, or community events, or wherever we can spread that word, we're going to make a good attempt to do that.
So I was just looking at your website. So is John Hart your new executive director? Or he's your prior
Yes,
one?
he's the new director.
Okay.
Do you know John?
Yes, I do.
Everybody knows John.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yes, we're very lucky to have him.
That's cool. Very cool.
Well, I will, I suppose, share my screen, and I will, and I said this before, so Amy Fours is also a collaborative network consultant, and we share the work together, and we work really well together, and she's been in and out a little bit with family things. So usually we are a dynamic duo, and we like do all the technology things together. And for the month of January, I did it by myself, and I feel a little more qualified, but still, so we're just gonna, that's my disclaimer, as I am like, hold on while I share screen. Let's see if I can do it right. So I'm going to not share that. I'm going to try and go to my right PowerPoint. Let's see if it can happen.
Have to move this finger. It looks like it's giving you the finger. It really is a pointer. It's not a.
Oh, that's, you're setting the vibe. I'm not, I don't hate it. All right, slideshow. Let's see if I can get there. Share screen. Okay, so here's the official start, and we already did some. I know that Zoe said in the chat she had to step away. I see Dina also. If anyone wants to, come off mute or say hi or introduce, please feel free. This is a fairly informal setting. I feel like Nancy, did you described it really well. Like last month, you were like, this is like anything goes here. It's kind of an agenda, kind of not. I was like, that's great. That's a great description. I don't know if everyone above me would agree with that.
Right, that would not be right.
But listen, I'm running the show, so I get to decide. That's great. So we are here. We've already done introductions. I'm going to skip past a lot of these because you all know them and you know who I am, and we don't need to spend time hashing it all out. Please speak up if you'd like to hash any of this out, or if you'd like to cover it, but we put a lot of slides in just in case, we have 20 new people and one, veteran person. We like to have these in place just to kind of ground everyone. As a reminder, these are the things that we can help with. I think most or all of you have put partner profiles in. So if there were gold stars, I would be dishing them out to all of you. And this also is helping us too, because we're gathering more data around creating a 4th affinity group, and that will totally depend on what people are telling us they're working on. So if they're saying we're working on, a lot of people are putting in like working without bias, which I feel like also ties into everything we're doing, trust and everything. So anyway, we're going to look at what people are saying they're working on, both in partner profiles and in meetings and feedback and all of it, and then have another group where we can have another topic and another root cause that we all gather around. There's the plug for partner profiles. And then this is just like we did a quick recap of things that we talked about last month, just to kind of remind people that like, oh yes, we are taking our work, and if people are able to come, we can like do work together. If you want to follow up on any strategies that you're working on around challenges you've had, or maybe progress you've had. We had Nancy, Teshna, and Angie. And then the month before, I had written down, I did not write down people's names, but just different things around how to navigate service systems. And how do you know, like, what are some things that you've encountered, or are there ways that people could help you make it better or easier? So those are just quick snippets. And then as per usual, I'll pull up the Padlet. So if you so desire, you can oh, hi, Dina. Sorry, I'm just seeing the chat. I'm doing too many things at one time. Glad to have you here. And I will pull this up. And if you would like to, you can enter, you can go to the Padlet link that I put in the chat. What I will also do is I will share my screen, and I will go to the Padlet where we are listing how to make service systems easier to navigate. And I can type while you talk. I often do it. And it's a very ad hoc way to take notes, but it's also an opportunity to capture a conversation or connection, or anything you want to add to. I don't know if you want me to, I can pull up what we talked about last time. I can call people out. Nancy, am I boring you? Is this where we're at in our relationship? Just kidding.
Oh, no. I'm yawning in meetings. I probably look like I'm half asleep. That's horrible, but.
No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, if I'm calling you out, we have good rapport, and
right.
you know. I also was yawning all morning, so you're not the only one.
It's okay if I snore then.
Yes, actually, we could just make this a nap time. I'm very okay with that. What was the outcome? Everyone was rested.
Right.
Solved a lot of things, actually. Does anyone want to start us off, or we can also like
Say
what we
something super quick, an update on the disability connection.
yeah.
We have scheduled our first assessment on, I think it's on the 25th of February. So we've got like, I think it's 3 or 4 sites that we're going to go to. So it's off and running.
That's great.
What-
And oh, go ahead.
What does that look like? I'm new to the conversation for that.
That's where we're using, I had met with John actually when I first got this role, and when we were chatting, he mentioned that they offer that particular service. And so my mind got to going, and I'm like, when the last time we did that at the hospital? So I approached our plant operations director, and he said it's been a while, so we're looking at doing a assessment for our offsite locations for accessibility. We
Okay,
follow all of the ADA guidelines, but there's additional things like just from a patient
sure.
experience or patient satisfaction, or just the right thing to do for the patients that we're going to be looking at. So
Oh, that's
We're
very
so glad to be doing that with you. Sorry, my phone's gonna ring. And I have to tell you that I was really impressed, because I think about these kind of things. And most people don't even think about, if you're in a wheelchair and you go to the doctor, you can't get yourself onto the examining table, or you can't be weighed, you know. So, and those are for some people, as a diabetic that has water retention issues, weight is a real issue. So they need to keep track of that. And it can be difficult to find some place where you can just be weighed. But I have to say, Teshna, I scheduled, getting older, and they scheduled me for a bone density test for my old bones. And they asked me when they called if I could get myself onto the table or if I needed assistance. And I was really impressed by that, because
wow.
it shows that they're thinking about who's coming to them. And I liked that a lot.
Oh,
So
wow. That's cool. Laura, was that Henry Ford Health System?
it was.
Oh,
It
very
was,
cool.
That is cool.
yeah, that is cool.
And so to that point then, so I would imagine then, like, Tateshna, so like you follow, obviously, Henry Ford Health System is following all the ADA, whatever, but I would imagine, like you're saying, Laura, I'm going to own that, like, I didn't think about a person in a wheelchair needing to get on a scale. Like that's not my lens, right? Or my expertise or anything. So like, to me, I would imagine that's probably the above and beyond, right? Like, not required, but important and best for patient care and support and all of those things.
Just like a lot of people don't know that the automatic door openers, that's not required. That is not a requirement.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's not, but
Really?
think
not
about how it
required.
changes their life. I know we've disconnected ours here because people try to pull on our door since we've actually had it locked. But so some of our staff have trouble getting in and out of the building. So makes a big difference in somebody's life who's in a wheelchair, that door opener.
Yeah. Huh.
So personally, I thank you for that also. I think it's a big thing. It's amazing the things you don't think about when when the issue is not yours.
Exactly.
I've been here for, I don't even know how long now, 12 years, I think. And never occurred to me before I started here about when I go into a bathroom where the soap is, where the handhelds are, where this, can somebody in a wheelchair get up to the sink? Those were all, if it doesn't affect you, you don't tend to now I see it everywhere. I'll go to some place and it says the bathroom's accessible. I'm like, no, that bathroom is not accessible.
Right.
Because you have a big stall, like that's
Right.
that's how they
Just because
define
you
it.
put a sign on the door doesn't mean it's accessible. If I can't get the door open, it's not accessible to me.
Right.
So yeah, it's we're so glad that you're doing that. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm thinking just accessibility of services in general, like just knowing the awareness of knowing, for instance, I knew you existed. I think I've gotten a foot, what do you call it? A boot from you before. You have like a huge closet of boots over there.
We do.
Right. So, but I didn't really know intimately, really what you did until now. And so I think when I think about navigating systems and, our system, the college and career access system, there's so many factors that are there historically, and then even today that really prevent folks from transitioning into a post-secondary life, whether it be college or the skilled trades or going straight to work. And so a big thing is the affordability factor. So one of the things that I'm really interested in from a strategic standpoint is how can we use this current time as an opportunity with the Great Resignation and college affordability and low enrollment. How can we use this as an opportunity for businesses to become more invested in college affordability? So that's something that's really, it's just an interesting topic to be diving into with different folks and having conversations around it, because some people feel that like businesses should not be involved in post-secondary affordability. And when I say post-secondary, I mean skilled trades and 2 to 4. So I'll just say post-secondary so we can be on the same page. But I really think that businesses need to take a stronger role in it, because I don't think government can do it. I don't think nonprofits can do it. And I think the businesses really strategically need to be more invested in it more than ever right now. So to help students with the biggest barrier, which is affordability to get training after high school. So I know it's a bigger topic than just like, I mean, it's kind of a philosophical topic, probably almost at this point. But anyway, I've been having conversations with different folks about that and what that could look like. And
I'm curious about that, Nancy. Like, what are your, I don't disagree, but like, what are your ideas around that?
Sure. So some things that I'm really interested in seeing is maybe, experiential learning and work-based learning opportunities, I think, are really important. So like opening up the doors, actually physically having a person in charge at a company that is dedicated to bringing students in. So whether that looks like work-based learning, experiential learning, to really have a coordinated effort, not just like, hey, can you, not just these one and done things, but some type of pipeline planning that really allows for students to access the business, right? Another thing that I think is a strategy that I think would be really, really impactful is in terms of affordability would be like co-oping. So more co-oping opportunities. And when I say co-oping, it's kind of like the Kettering model, right? So like colleges say, we'll have you come on for a semester, and then you go work for Consumers or Allegiance for a semester. And then you come back to us for a semester. So, and Allegiance, well, I'm just saying Allegiance, Teshna, sorry, I probably shouldn't be throwing Allegiance out there, but because you are such a big place, we'll say that. I'm not in any way saying that they're doing that. I'm just saying that I'm just giving you an idea. So where they're actually vested in the affordability factor, but they're giving experiential learning opportunities, and they're getting an employee. So getting creative in that regard. And of course, tuition reimbursement is a huge thing, but tuition reimbursement is very minimal, and a lot of times it's not sustainable. So looking at that model as well, like what that looks like. And those are just some of the things that have been bubbling up in terms of how businesses can be more invested. So those are just some ideas.
Yeah, we're very interested in getting business engaging, I guess, with local businesses also and it may be a crossover between us here, because we feel like people with disabilities often can't get jobs because they can't get the certifications. They don't read well enough to do the work. We had a work program here at Disability Connections for a couple of years. John Hart actually led it, where the kids that were at the Career Center that were not doing well in their technical programs because they lacked some of the skills necessary or the behavior issues. They would come here and we would do a work study with them, and we had so many, we placed quite a few in jobs afterwards, because we came at them with we don't look at the disability, we look at the ability. What can you do instead of what can't you do? So it changed their mind frame. and we worked with them on learning the skills tactilely instead of through bookwork and reading, and they really excelled. So we would like to engage with employers and say, hey, these are people that are highly trainable. You just have to come at them in a different way.
Right. Yeah, because it's a whole market of folks that are,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, and this leads us into the like, it's all related, right? But even for people to assume that one way is appropriate for every single person to learn, even like people who don't identify as having a disability learn differently, right? Like we all learn differently anyway. But I love that, Laura. Because the truth is that, right, like, and that's very strengths-based. So I'll say, like, as a social worker, that's where I go to, right? Like, I'm like, yes, you may have, like, society or people have decided that you have these things that make you different there, or you even said like lacking skills, but actually maybe it's not, it's just lacking what this employer has decided is a list of important things, when actually this person can do these things. We just have to like meet them where they are. We have to, if learning differently is how they excel, so to me, we could just talk all day about this and like who defines success and who's deciding that society, right? Like, anyway,
Yep.
I'll get off the soapbox.
Changing that stigma about disability is, even for the people who are disabled, it's sometimes difficult to change that mind frame. I have calls from people all the time that say, I can't work because I'm on Social Security. I'm like, oh yes, you can work. Let's make your life better. You don't want to be stagnant where you are and always be low income and not able to take care of yourself. Let's put you on the right path.
Right. I used to work for Social Security Disability when I first, like, long time ago, but it used to blow my mind. I mean, it is scary, but to wean oneself off of disability benefits, but it's such a long process. I mean, it really is.
It is, and there's lots of ways to go around it. We were talking about MRS. We actually also have another service through MRS. It's called benefits counseling. So it walks you through, what do you get for disability? What can you earn? What should you earn? In order to keep
That's
your
good.
benefits, because the cash portion of disability isn't always the most important thing to people. It's that medical coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are some disabilities that require people, they can be very sick for long periods of time, and they need that medical coverage. That they can't lose that. So she walks them through exactly what they can earn and still keep those benefits.
And what's that called? What is that called?
Benefits counseling, and that's a referral through MRS.
Okay.
That's so important, and we're talking about navigating systems, right? Because that's such and I know how difficult navigating things are, but I would imagine people with disabilities, and then like things change all the time, right? Like, can I earn this much, or how can I succeed in life, whatever that means, but also feel supported. And I would imagine that medical coverage would be huge. I mean, honestly, that's a huge reason I'm employed. Like, I would like medical coverage, like,
yeah.
We need navigators for like every system. How do we do that?
Right. Two more things that in terms of businesses, one of the things that we find challenging here is tracking. So we can track a student from high school graduation all the way through college, because there's a data tracking mechanism to do that. So we collect that data and we track that data. And then, the census data is what we use to figure out after adulthood, what they're doing. And basically that helps to guide us on our vision for by 2030, 60% of all Jackson County residents will have some type of post-secondary credential. But the skilled trades, you can't measure the skilled trades. There's no way to measure it. There's nothing that follows the student into skilled trades training. So
No box to check where they work. Huh?
yeah, exactly. So, and we endorse skilled trades training. So we would like to see businesses who are crying for skilled trades labor and unions who are saying, okay, we can provide this training, to create some type of data tracking mechanism. And then also to really illuminate the pathway in some type of aligned fashion for apprenticeships. So those two areas would when I say that, what I mean is that apprenticeships are traditionally a good old boy network, right? It was who you know would allow you to get, yeah, it's not what you know. And so it would allow you to really slide right into my dad did it, my grandpa did it, my great grandpa did it, was a bricklayer, or my uncle did it, my cousin did it. And that's how people got into it, and which is wrong, right? And so, but now there's such this shortage, but the pathway isn't really clearly illuminated so for instance, someone comes in here, if they want to go into a skilled trade, we want to figure out what the skilled trade is, then where's the training, which we have we know where all the training is within a 90-mile radius. But then you got to call that specific space and place to find out what exactly their requirements are. When can you come in and apply? What is the open season? Do you have to do any testing? So it's piecemealed and it's different for every single space and place, which drives us nuts. And so that just internally facing is really hard to navigate as an advisor. And then externally facing, when you're talking with folks about it, yes, we endorse it, but it's not a very illuminated pathway. It's really hard to get to it. And then you have stakeholders who are like begging for more people, but the stakeholders are the businesses who really need to be able to help illuminate the pathway. So we want more conversation around that too. So really streamlining and illuminating the pathway as a strategy, and then also data collection for skilled trades and apprenticeship as a strategy.
Have you, and I haven't seen Bill Rail come to one of our affinity groups in a little while, but have you talked with him about any of this?
Yes, he and I, and then the president of the Michigan Manufacturer Association, John Walsh, met a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So,
because it feels like a lot of the conversation that he used to have too, when he would pop in, I think to this affinity group, we talked a lot about the equity piece and both in students of color and students with disabilities. And I think Laura was present for one of those conversations too with Bill, and they talked about how can we diversify the programs, but also like it sounded like he was really trying to do what you're talking about, like that, go into schools or whatever the barrier is. What's the barrier for all students, but especially students that they're not getting? If you're just getting a lot of young white men and your goal is to diversify and your goal is like, well, how can we reach out differently, or how can we partner differently so that different students are also being exposed to or encouraged
right.
To attend. So I'm glad to hear that you chatted, because I feel like that would be a good, like Bill, right? Like it seems like he's very passionate about that too.
He is. And so it's having conversations with people at the state of Michigan level too. That's systemically, when we're talking about systems, Zoe's in this phone call. Those are the folks that can make an impact more quickly at a broader level, so it's like.
It is. And it feels like it always is, right? Like a little bit harder to make the systems piece move not disconnected, but you know, like when it feels like we're disconnected from a lot of the maybe decision makers or higher up people who could make a quick decision. Mhm.
I mean, I think we can do it locally by having conversations like this, but it's like turtle
Mhm.
pace. It's
It
turtle
is.
small. It's one little thing at a time, you know? So,
The last work that I did, the last position I was in, was at the state level, and it was a federal grant, state ran, and then I worked with communities, and Jackson was one of them. And it's been established that I'm a truth teller. So I'll say that at the state level, it was we did not have movement. We had like an inch of movement. It was a 6-year grant, and there was so much incredible local community work. It took 6 years, I will say that. So 6 years, but then like the movement at the local level was so strong that I feel like then the state listened a little bit more, but it took like years. So I'm like, all right, well, buckle in, here we are. It's not going to be a 2-year project, right? Like,
I think it's just the reach of being able to have conversations globally it's a further reach, right? Like, I mean, that to be able to change things when we're talking about college affordability, like people at the state level need to be having conversations around the state about it. It can't just be us here in Jackson talking about it. It's got to be lots of these conversations focused on some agreed upon strategies around the state. So, I mean, I think there's definitely people doing that. I don't know, with Disability Connections, are you guys connected to a larger state or model, or is it
Yes.
just like, yes?
Yes, we have centers for independent living. There's 15 altogether all over Michigan.
Okay.
And we are working towards a more unified group, just for the same reasons, whatever.
Right.
You're stronger together. You know, if there's 15 of you coming at the legislator saying, okay, we're all over the state of Michigan, and we're all having this issue, what do we need to do about it? So yeah, we're working very hard at being a more unified group.
So how do you
presenting things with one voice?
So I'm just curious, and again, if I'm overstepping my boundaries, please tell me, other people in the group, but I'm curious. So the 15 Disability Connections, do they meet quarterly, or are there executive directors of all 15, or how is it structured?
The directors all meet weekly.
Okay.
And discuss what's going on in each center. We have some smaller groups that discuss internal things, but then we are also part of, oh gosh, John would be a better person to talk to about this than me, because I kind of know the edges of how it works.
Sure. Yeah.
There is the State Center for Independent Living that we're a part of, and then we work with the ACL also. So, but I'm not sure about all the technicalities in those little relationships.
But the services are streamlined across all 15. Like if I went to one Disability Connections in Lansing, I'd see the same. No.
So we all have 5 core services that we offer, and then each center has services that they offer that are specific to their location, because depending on where you live, somebody in the UP might have different needs than someone in Detroit.
Okay.
So they have these 5 core services that are standard, and with them all, then they expound depending on their location.
Cool. And how long? And it's all nonprofit. It's all nonprofit. Each one has their separate own sovereignty, their own nonprofit status.
Yes.
And then is there state and federal funding that goes into it, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we get federal funding, we get state funding, and then we fundraise for whatever they won't cover.
Okay. Huh. Interesting.
Which is right now is ramps, if anybody wants to build a ramp. Spring's always.
I do.
All right, come on now.
I'm interested in that. We need a ramp. I mean, do you do it for nonprofits or just individuals, or who? Hear me?
I didn't understand what you said. Is it Dina that's talking?
Yes, I'm having
Bad connection. So we only do
bad
residential
time.
ramps,
Primary residential, okay. But
correct?
you do have funding available, okay. Do you, we brought a building and we need help.
And I don't know of any place that does them for
We
businesses at no
brought a
cost.
building last year and we need.
I think we may have lost you, Dina.
Yeah, I
Okay.
couldn't understand what she was saying.
You're saying that you bought a building for Dungy Tree and you need assistance with a ramp for the entrance?
Yes, and we need help with painting and a
Mm.
lot of, so we need some, I don't know where there is funding to get help with that.
Sometimes
We do
Habitat has a group. Have you
Mhm.
connected with Habitat?
I haven't.
I don't know exactly. I know at one time their funding was very specific to certain tasks.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's changed or not, but it might be worth a call. They can only
Okay.
say no, right?
We also
Yeah.
have a school bus that needs painting. Jackson Public Schools donated a school bus
Wow.
and we can't find anyone to help paint it.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I can't, is it Save Our House or Save Us? Somebody help me out. I should know the name of this place. It's right next to the interface shelter. We're collaborating with them. Let me look. I can look up the name.
Oh,
It's not
Why-
Save Our Youth, is it?
No, not Save Our Youth.
No.
I'll find out the name, but
it's
um,
Wendy. You're talking about Wendy. Wendy.
Come on, safe place?
safe
My-
safe place with the foster care youth. Is that with the young women that are living in that
Yes.
house? Yes.
I believe so. I'm not sure if that's the correct name, but I know what you're talking about. My place, is it?
My place or something of that nature. Yeah. They and I'll get the name before we get off and do it to group text, but they were able to buy the house that they got. Well, the interface shelter gave it to them, basically donated it to them. I think is what happened. I'm not sure about that, so don't quote me on that. But they were able to get a lot of in-kind support to get that place up to code. And so she
Okay.
might be a person, the executive director there might be a person to reach out to find out just basically, what resources they tapped into. Because they got that place up to code and it's up and running. They have young women living in it right now.
So the bus, Dina, are you just looking to have it painted, you said?
Yes.
So have you thought about working, Phil Tripp is a big local supporter. He might do it for an ad on the bus. If you think outside the box, if he put his little plug on the side painted by Tripp, or give him some kudos.
Okay.
Thank you. I love these ideas. And then Nancy, you
Phil-
said that
Phil, by
you'll
the
be
way,
able.
Phil Tripp.
Oh, say that
Yeah.
again, Laura. Phil.
Tripp.
Thank you. I'll change that.
He does
This-
the
it
Hot
is-
Air Jubilee and a lot of local fundraising.
It is My Place is the name of it. My Place. And then I'll get the contact information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I feel like we talk about that in so many different senses, right? When there's a barrier or issue that comes up, like, well, who else has had this similar thing? Who else has had this same barrier, and what did they do, or how did they think creatively to make it happen? And I love the idea of reaching out to someone who maybe had similar, bought a building. How'd they do it? Like, what are the, and all they can say is, no, I'm not going to offer, but maybe they might, maybe they, share.
We do meet with the architect on Friday, so we are moving forward, but I was listening to everyone speak, and we offer a program, and our purpose is to help keep children and youth off the streets. A lot of our students went to they performed at the Jackson County Fair, Michigan Theater. Right now we're in the process of writing a book to address youth mental health issues. So we have a lot of programs, but we don't have a lot of funding. So we're doing the best we can. We love our community. We are boots on the ground. We haven't been on TV or in newspapers. But I know that, we have to do that also, but we're really boots on the ground, and we connect with our community on every level of all ages. We have received referrals from Disability Connections, DHHS, through word of mouth on Facebook, emails. So we do need help. We're a small organization, but we do love our community.
Do you have do you ever go to organizations to request sponsorship for certain projects or things that you guys are doing?
Such as, we have worked with United Way
Okay.
of Jackson County, Jackson Community Foundation. They were our first sponsors many years ago. Dana Ashlock, he's awesome. And right now we also have a food pantry with the South Michigan Food Bank. So that's a great resource for us. But we need help with, writing grants and things of that nature.
Do you have are you a 501c3?
Yes,
You are?
yes.
Because I know a lot of organizations, including mine,
Oh.
whether it's consumers or whoever, look at sponsoring, things for our community, depending on what it is. So we do have a link on our website. I know consumers does too, depending on, the amount that you're asking for. If it's
Okay.
over a certain amount, you will have to do like some type of a proposal or something like that. But
Okay.
with things like this, I would suggest reaching out, to organizations.
Teshna, do you have a link? Would you be able to access that like after the,
Yeah,
like after the meeting?
Yeah, I know it's on our Hereford Allegiance website, but I can maybe I can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh,
And we love
yeah.
to collaborate with others. I think more is better, and the community gets more. We partner with other food pantries. Fran Adams is awesome. We talk a lot. We collaborate, and it's just the community gets more. Instead of getting one chicken from the Dungy Tree Heritage Foundation, we can pass on information and resources so they can get 5. And that can help them feed a family for 1 week at least. So more is better. We love to collaborate. We love to work with other organizations and individuals. There's a lot of community members who want to get involved and feel left out. So, that's where my heart is also. I love to get everyone involved and give them a chance to give back to the community.
All right, I just put the link in the chat.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Teshna.
Thank you.
And like I said, I know there's other, like whether it's consumers or, other organizations that do sponsor things. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's great. And I love that connection too. And depending on where that leads, right? Because I feel like it's like you showing up in these meetings too, Dina, right? Like listening for connections. And then if that Henry Ford link works, maybe someone else in that meeting knows of another, resource or another person that, and I think it's all about connections, right?
I think we have a better time too. So my advice is to, and when we go to somebody for assistance, we don't generally say, we just want you to just donate to Disability Connections. It's okay, would you support our ramp program? You know, it's depending on, I mean, you could go to Lowe's, Home Depot, you know, we're a local 501c3, we need a ramp. Could you support, could you supply the supplies for the ramp? If we can get the volunteers to build
Oh,
it,
yeah.
you know, something, we try to think outside the box, but I think it works better when you go to an organization and it's something that they can relate to, you know, so the wood from the Lowe's or Home Depot, or, you know, Walmart has a program. They have like a big program through their main offices, and then each store has their own that they do, you know, community. But they usually want something specific. So that would be my suggestion, is when you ask to focus on something specific that you're looking for their support for.
It's a great suggestion, Laura. I love that too, because then, and if you're tailoring it to the organization, right? So for example, if you're asking Henry Ford Health System for assistance with something, then maybe framing it in, well, what sort of things does Henry Ford Health System support? Like I would go with health right away, right? Like, so like, what is, like, I'm wondering if you would help support the mental health program for young people that I'm working with or whatever. And like, then you said, if you're looking for help with a ramp, like maybe Habitat would help, or maybe a wood program somewhere, right? So like targeting, having a specific ask, even if you need big help, chopping it down into little pieces. So, because it's easier, right, to say like, oh, sure, yeah, I could donate $1,000 for this specific thing, versus like, can you just help me, feels like vague and like unknowing, like what you're committing to.
Absolutely. I do know someone that needs a handrail. He doesn't need a whole ramp, but he does need a handrail. His body is weak and he's disabled, so he just wants a handrail. I don't know if you can help with that.
You can send it to me. I will do everything I can to help him.
Okay. Can you send him your information?
I'll put my email in the chat.
Please?
I'll put my email in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this is great. Is there anything else that anyone wants to, before we move forward, move on? Anything else that people want to chat about around navigating systems in general, or in response to something that someone else had brought up?
Does anyone have any resources for homelessness?
Oh,
I know a lot of organizations are working on homelessness, so I mean, there's so many.
it's such a huge problem. It's so huge.
But
I
for
know CAA
immediate,
helps for a short time, but
yeah,
you
if
know,
you need some immediate, then there's the shelters, but I know there are organizations that are looking at it systemically in regards to homelessness, so including the United Way and, you know, a lot of other organizations.
I was wondering how to navigate. I have a landlord that would like to sell us a house to help us address homelessness, but I know the big organizations are addressing that same issue. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but that's part of our mission, is to help end poverty, hunger, and how with other organizations and come together and provide shelter, because we get a lot of people calling in. I had 2 people that called in today, and if there's no room at the interfaith shelter, there's really nowhere for them to go for whatever reason. So I would like to get some guidance on with that project.
Well, I don't think there could ever be too many beds,
Mhm,
but funding it would be probably your
mhm,
most difficult issue.
Mhm.
mhm,
I would talk with Tammy, because they started from the ground up on that, and they have it up and running, so. And then,
Okay.
Steve, is it Steve over at the Interface Shelter?
Yeah,
Oh, Scott Castle, wait, what's his?
Steve
Steve.
Castle. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, even they have houses, they have houses that they do rent to people
Mhm,
at a very low cost. So
Mhm.
I would have a conversation with him too, if you have immediate needs with somebody that is being evicted or that, can't get into the shelter, maybe call an advocate too.
That would be
Okay.
someplace, that would be really nice, someplace for people to go in the interim, because there's nothing that covers the short time that they can stay at the shelter until
Mm.
you can't get into Section 8 housing. So if you can't afford the rent someplace, or you have bad credit,
Mhm.
you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have any voucher for if they're full, if they voucher out to hotels. I don't know. Or do they just have to turn them away? I don't know what their process is, but
I remember forever
Zoe
ago.
had-
Oh, go
oh,
ahead,
sorry.
Tashna.
I was gonna say, I thought Zoe had something similar to that. Like if they're getting them into hotels or something temporarily.
I
But
know she had to leave the call.
yeah,
I know I talked with Steve like at the beginning of COVID. It feels like and I'm sure so many things have changed, but they had people in hotels then, because we were talking about food delivery. We were
Mhm.
talking about like how they were doing the best they could, but it wasn't exactly like streamlined, because he said there were people in hotels everywhere because some people were tested positive. This is like April or May of 2022, so 2020 also. So like everything has changed, but I know at some point they did have hotel, like situations, but that's also a cost. It's a huge cost.
Yeah. We have a little, so I don't have funding for anything except I have some COVID dollars, but they put so many restrictions on them. We have trouble using them. They have to have a disability. It has to be whatever their reason they're homeless has to be COVID related. So we've helped a couple of people that can give us proof that their disability puts them at risk to go to a shelter, because it exposes them to large groups of people and there's a possibility of COVID. So we're very limited. I do still have some of that funding, but like I said, it's very
Pretty specific. Well, it sounds like there are quite a bit of resources, and we can follow up in the email following this meeting. We can make sure that we have all this, but I'm hoping, Dina, that you captured some of the contact information for like maybe people to reach out to, because it sounds like there's some good connections on ways to support some of the efforts you're working on. I hear a buzz. I'm going to assume that means yes, you totally agree. And then Laura, I see you put your contact information in the chat. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Sarah, can you change the assessment to we only go on to one site?
Oh,
Because I
wait,
guess
yes.
it takes a couple of hours or so to do one location. So the
Here,
first one, yeah, it's just one site that's scheduled. And we'll keep scheduling them after that.
like this edit, is this appropriate? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, that's fine.
Tell me if I should change something else.
And I think, isn't it Disability Connections, not Connect?
Listen,
It
I'm
is.
going to put you on note taking. Listen, do you see, I abbreviate a lot of things, but also it takes a village, I need all of your help.
I appreciate you taking notes.
It's only
not
because
easy.
later, I can be like, wait a minute, Laura, you said this.
You're better than me because I would be still taking notes when the next conversation took place. And
I can tell, I'm telling you, I was weird when I remember so clearly when I was 14 and the required typing class that you had to take. And of course, this is, pre-internet, pre-everything. And I remember thinking so annoyed. And now I feel like it's such a skill because I feel like I can mindlessly type. Sometimes it's a little ad hockey, but then I can also engage mentally. So I suppose I have to thank some teacher in 9th grade somewhere for that. All right. So I'll keep this and I will save it as I usually do. I can attach it to the email that I send out after. Just as a reminder, obviously, it's not perfect notes, but it is also a place for you all to remember the connections you made and like maybe next steps. And then I'll go over here, maybe. Back to, what day are we on? Navigating service systems.
I have one more question.
Sure.
I have a client. She has a mental disability, and her daughter is looking for a job. She just texted me last night. So I don't know if anyone has resources for someone in their situation.
Do they have any like insurance, like Medicaid, or do they have a caseworker? Would that be a place to start? I don't know if anyone else has other ideas.
So does the daughter have a disability or it's the mother that has a disability?
Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Okay. I really think the whole family does. The daughter seems like she's, more stable, but she has some issues. I know, but I don't know if she is on disability or not.
So that I would find out whether the daughter has a
you hear me?
diagnosed disability, and Michigan Rehabilitative Services should be able to help her get a job if she needs some supports or some assistance.
Okay.
Filling out applications or where she should go, or they do supported assistance.
Okay. Do you have a phone number for them?
I do.
Okay. The thing about it, in our community, they're afraid if they start working that they're going to be cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's a big fear of theirs.
So she can also through Michigan, sorry, I'm trying to look for the number and talk to you at the same time. So Michigan Rehab will also help them with that because we have a benefits counselor that will talk them through what do they get for Social Security? If they, what can they earn before it affects their Social Security?
Okay.
That's great. Thanks for that connection, Laura.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Laura.
I will put let's see. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Dina, are you able to access the chat and get the information from that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank you.
Let me just make sure that
I think this is the correct number. I hope it's the correct number. If it's not, email me and I'll find the correct number. This was to one of the counselors that I worked with there. So I don't know if it was direct to the organization or if it was right to her desk.
And then Laura providing information. I'm gonna write that down. Michigan Rehab Services.
Yeah. So we also have, so if Michigan Rehab won't help them, or if they don't qualify for their services, like I was talking about before, we have it's called the Independent Living Specialist, and we only have one right now, but he works with people to figure out what the barriers are that they're having. whether it's to work or to live on their own or just to live at home and make things work. So if Michigan Rehab won't or can't help them, send them our direction and we'll put them together with our independent living specialist.
That's great. Did you get that, Dina? Hopefully, yes. I know we're having some audio issues. Awesome. Thanks, Laura. So we'll
Do you
just,
have an email for Dina, Sarah?
yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have a phone number?
I put it in the
Yes,
chat.
thank you so much.
Okay,
Do
all
you
right.
have a phone number?
Oh, do I? Yes. Yep. What is my phone number? I should know it. There you go.
This is, if I can get there. I'm doing too many things at one time. Here is this. And that is Dina's email.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Awesome. All the information has been exchanged. Perfect. So we'll just fly through these last few slides. Just as a reminder of our action planning process. This is the framework that we use when we have our conversations, so they feel maybe loose and kind of organic and where they go. This is really the framework that we use when we talk to people about strategies they're working on. And have they talked to people closest to the problem? And do you know why a thing is happening? And how do you know it's happening? And how are you measuring it? How are you tracking it? So these are all the things. We have we did recordings and learning convenings around each of the bubbles last year, but we have found that the affinity groups tend to be what is the strongest momentum that's happening right now anyway. These are the 14 root causes that we talked about before. We have affinity groups around 3 of them, and we'll be developing a 4th one this year, maybe more. And these are the things that people in the community have said they are working on or are barriers that they're working on. And then we have a spot on our website to share wins. We've talked about this and haven't really highlighted it a lot. We have Nancy's example here because she put it in, but it really is kind of a spot for you to just celebrate something that you're working on. It doesn't have to be I changed the world, but it is a spot to be highlighted and featured because we know that sometimes it feels heavy, all of the issues and problems that we face. So I'll make sure to include a link to that. And then we're putting it sharing it in our newsletters, or it is a public page too, so people can see it. And then that's the page. What has been achieved? What are you proud of? And then that's just an action planning, action planning page, something else that we can help with if you'd like assistance on an issue or problem you're working on, that's personalized outside of an affinity group. We can help with that. And then this is just a reminder of the next time we meet, which is March 8th, same time at 12 o'clock. I'll make sure to send you a link and a reminder, and it's all on our website as well on upcoming events. And then a reminder of the other 2 affinity groups that we have going, which is around building trust, which means the next one is Wednesday, February 16. And then we have the inequitable policies and practices group meeting on February 24. And we're always open to people saying, that's a horrible time to meet. Don't meet then. We're kind of just listening to people's feedback, whoever can come, whoever finds value. And we hope they grow. We hope they continue to grow. We have an upcoming quarterly meeting. It's hosted actually by the council. We'll be doing it now, which is kind of cool and different. They're asking people to come and some of the words sound like an affinity group, connect with other partners talking about things, but it will be really about anything, gather network feedback, a collaborative discussion, but it will be hosted by council. So we'll have a different feel. I will not be running it. I'm sure I'll have some role of some sort, but if you're able to come, please come. And I'll make sure to send a link as well, but we would love to have people come, and it's just a very different, and I would imagine more people than just this, but it will certainly have a different feel. And then our contact information. So at some point, Amy will join me again, but until then, I'm happy to host these, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or you forgot a thing, or you missed something. I have access to the chat, so I can connect you all, but I'll make sure to send the notes out as well afterwards. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining. We never do. Tesh and I were on today at 11:59. We were like, I don't know what's going to happen today. It might just be you and me. And then we had a great discussion, which always seems to always happen. So I'm so glad you all were able to come. Thanks, Laura. I really love it when you join, Laura. I really appreciate
Thanks.
your insight and feedback and connections. And Dina, it was great to have you as well. I know you're having some audio things, but appreciate you all, and I'll make sure to send an email following today.
Thank
Alrighty,
you.
take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.